Folks, I've been around for like 30 years doing television and radio, a lot of automotive stuff. We're in automotive heaven today at the Studebaker Museum in South Bend, Indiana. I saw this car here about 12 years ago when I came here. It was right after the museum opened. I think the museum has been open around 15 years. But this car totally blew me away. Out of all the stuff, ever since I was a little kid, loving the automobiles, reading magazines and going to car shows and on and on and on, never saw nothing like this. This is a 1956 Predictor by the Studebaker company. Now this is a concept car. One thing I want to tell you, man, this company was so ahead of its time. This car has the flush door handles, has opera windows in 1956. It actually has like style like a garage door that opens for like a T-top look. The back end has got a design that's unbelievable. Gorgeous car. And like I told you earlier, coming to a place like this, you're coming to automotive heaven. Have some fun. Come on down here and check out all these gorgeous vehicles here at the Studebaker Museum in South Bend, Indiana.
Well, this car on my right is a 1932 Studebaker President St. Regis Brougham. The St. Regis Brougham was a body style unique to Studebaker. It features exceptionally long front doors here. And this body style was designed so backseat passengers could get in and out without disturbing the front seat passengers. And Studebaker only built this style in 1932 and 1933. For 1933, the President became the Speedway President, as Studebaker was trying to capitalize on their success at the Indianapolis 500 with their racing team. Unfortunately, at the height of the Depression, very few of these cars were sold. In fact, only 635 Speedway Presidents were built in all of 1933.
I'm Richie Z for Chicago History and Automotive Heaven. For more information, you can check us out on YouTube at Richie Z, R-I-C-H-I-E-Z-I-E. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, and my website, which is richiez.com. Also, if you like programming like this, we're having some issues with some computers and we need some equipment for the television show. So I have a GoFundMe page up also at Richie Z, R-I-C-H-I-E-Z-I-E. Any contribution would help greatly to get some more equipment and be able to go out and shoot more museums like this, more historic churches in Chicago. We're going to be doing some more tours of Chicago also. For all that information, you can contact me direct at 312-841-2560.
For much of Studebaker's early history, automobile production took place in Detroit, while the South Bend plants were devoted to horse-drawn equipment. In 1920, they began building automobiles in South Bend, and this is a 1920 Light 6, the first South Bend-built Studebaker. It has just 23 miles on the odometer and carries serial number 1. Well, Studebaker's Hawk line was one of their most popular and iconic models during the 50s and 60s. This 1961 Hawk is actually finished in flamingo, a color exclusive to the Hawk and Lark convertible line in 1961. And you could also get a 4-speed transmission in the Hawk line for the first time in 1961. The Hawk got a restyle in 1962, and this is a 1963 Studebaker Super Hawk. It features the Avanti supercharged engine, heavy-duty suspension, and is finished in the Super Hawk exclusive Super Red color. And delighted to have both of these cars as part of our current exhibit, Birds of a Feather, Studebaker's Hawks, on display through September of 2020.
There's another concept car, right?
Yep.
Okay. 1937 Coupe Express. Folks, you learn something new every time you come into a wonderful place like this, the Studebaker Museum in South Bend, Indiana. Now, I always thought that the Ranchero or the El Camino was the first vehicles designed like that. They're a vehicle with the pickup truck back. Well, here we have one from 1937 by the Studebaker company, and they did make a lot of these. So Studebaker really made a lot of vehicles, from luxury cars to farm vehicles, pickup trucks, and things like that. But Ranchero and El Camino were not the first. I believe Studebaker was the first in 1937 with the Coupe Express. Andy, you know, I heard a lot of stories and I've read a lot of information. You're really sharp on this. I mean,
thank you.
I had you on my radio show a few years ago. Man, you were really great. People loved the knowledge you had. There's a lot of rumors been flying around for many, many years that one of the reasons Studebaker didn't make it was because they didn't advertise a lot. They not only didn't advertise, they didn't have a budget to advertise. They weren't making that kind of money like the other companies. Is that true?
Well, you kind of got to look at it on a bigger scale. I mean, Studebaker did not advertise as much as, you know, of course, GM or Chevy or, you know, the other divisions. But again, Studebaker was trying to make it on 4% of the market when GM was selling 55% of the market. I mean, Chevy was selling 1 million cars a year. Studebaker's best was 300,000-400,000 cars a year. So really, they did the most with what they had, but unfortunately, it just wasn't enough in the end.
And they had a hell of a car, like I've said in today's show, with all the innovative features that they had back when they were starting. And they made a lot of cars, though, that were economical cars back then. 6-cylinder engine with a 1-barrel carburetor that wasn't a slouch. It really moved. And they were getting 30 miles to the gallon, correct?
Well, Studebaker offered a lot for the money. I mean, I would go out to say that they got more return on their engineering and development dollar than anyone else in the industry. If you look at the styling and the features you could get, you know, economy, safety, and something that looked different than what everyone else had on the block. You really got a bang for your buck with Studebaker.
Then all of a sudden, Packard got involved with the company. How did that all transpire?
Well, Studebaker was struggling by early 1950s, and Packard was also having a tough go of it, so they thought that putting the two together would be a better way to compete, kind of make, you know, instead it was the big three, they said now it's the big four with Studebaker and Packard. Unfortunately, really, both companies' health was not enough to really make it a long-term survival. Packard was gone by 1958, and Studebaker would be out of the business in 1966.
You know, I can't leave this. Another question pops into my mind right now. Mm-hmm. How did the Avanti all come about? What's the history of that?
Well, the Avanti was really a last-ditch effort by Studebaker to reinvigorate the image, get the public interested in what they were building. And it was an image car, kind of, you know, the Corvette doesn't really make much money for Chevrolet or GM, but it, you know, gets guys like you and me in the showroom that the salesman might sell an Impala to. And that's what Studebaker was trying to do. Unfortunately, the Avanti was really too late for Studebaker to really capitalize on any momentum it could create. But they went back to the playbook that worked so well for them in the past. Had original style, lots of advanced features, and really something that really looked different than what everyone else was selling.
Chicago History Tours with Richie Z. From 2 people up to... Join in a Chicago tour you'll never forget. Chicago is our inspiration. Mag Mile, State Street, Museum Campus, Water Tower, historic Chicago churches, Hancock and Sears Tower, stunning architecture. Richie Z, historian, tour guide, and storyteller. Book Richie Z at 312-841-2560. Go to our website, our podcast site, www.richiezie.com. See Chicago with Richie Z on a tour you'll never forget. That podcast site again with over 100 radio shows is RICHIEZIE.com. You know, I'm amazed, Andy, of all this stuff that Studebaker did. Really a hell of an education today. I came down here to take a look at some of the stuff you have in storage or waiting to go up to the museum, but this is an area where you have a lot of real interesting cars. We're not going to touch on them all, but people can come down and take a look at what's in waiting or just what's in storage here. But let's talk a little bit about the military vehicles that were made by the Studebaker company and the paraphernalia that was made by Studebaker for wars.
Yeah, Studebaker has a tremendously rich military history going back to the 1857 Mormon War in Utah. That was their first really government contract. And every conflict from there up until the Vietnam conflict, Studebaker was building military equipment of one kind or another.
You got stuff here that's, from vehicles to, I believe that's a jet engine behind us in that.
Yeah, they made jet engines. That's actually a B-17 bomber engine. Studebaker was one of 3 suppliers of the Wright Cyclone R-1820 engines during World War II. During the First World War, they were building ammunition wagons and supply wagons, water carts, harnesses and saddles, because that war was still very much fought with horse-drawn equipment.
And we got to get into, man, one of the most historic vehicles ever made, and that is the Jeep. We got to get into this vehicle. Now, this became extremely popular after World War II. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons was, folks, America took, I heard like 100,000 or 10,000, whatever it was, to the war, to World War II, out into Europe. And this vehicle helped win the war because they could go everywhere and anywhere with it. I heard a story where they were selling to the government for World War II. They were selling them for like $695, something like that. I saw a documentary many years ago, and I've looked for it on YouTube. I've looked at it everywhere, where they were loading Jeeps onto a ship to take over to Europe. And they had this big strap thing that they put around underneath the vehicle, and the crane would lift it up and then put it over to the ship and put it down. Well, I got it to the ship, and the strap broke, and the thing fell 30 feet. It bounced a few times. The GI got in, started the car, and parked it in its place. It was fine. I did see that many years ago in a documentary, but it's a hell of an automobile, and they were part of Studebaker for a while.
Well, when Studebaker closed, they had a government contract to supply Army trucks. So the contract and the factory and really all the workers was all picked up by Kaiser Jeep at that time. And that was in the spring of 1964. And going on to 1970, American Motors buys Kaiser Jeep, and they create AM General. That's what the AM stands for in AM General, is American Motors. And they continued to supply the government, and that was created by American Motors for their military and defense contracts. And they're still building stuff in St. Joseph County area today. And just a tremendous lineage. You can go back to the 1850s up to 21st century.
And it's amazing because Lee Iacocca, when he took over Chrysler and brought them back to life, ended up buying AMC, American Motors, the old Rambler as we know it in the industry. But he didn't want to save Rambler or AMC. All he wanted was the iconic Jeep. And they are still extremely popular today. But today you see them with all the bells and whistles, right?
Yeah, they're not quite the utilitarian vehicle they once were.
Hey, Andy, thanks a lot for letting us come in here and disrupt your museum, and we wish you a lot of luck. We're going to get some tickets from you. Hopefully we can give away on our show and stuff. I hope you enjoyed today's show at the Studebaker Museum in South Bend, Indiana. It's worth the trip to come out here and check it out. I'm Richie Z for Automotive Heaven. Thank you for watching. Go to Richie Z, 312-841-2560. Check out our website at richieze.com, RICHIEZIE.com. Go fund me at Richie Z. It's very important that we get funding for programming like this.